Greetings, everyone. Hope you're all doing as well as possible in this ridiculous global pandemic. Brian Wallace from NowSourcing with you live on any number of different platforms, depending on where you're watching. You might be watching on Zoom, you might be watching on Facebook Live, and you might be watching on my LinkedIn Live. And Jake, Jacob, and myself are going to be moderating comments. I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I'm not the only person to talk. So feel free to interrupt me all over the place. Guys, if you see something that I did not address, feel free. We want this to be as helpful as possible, but helpful doesn't mean nice. So be warned that I'm very annoyed at the way a lot of people are positioning a lot of this stuff. I'm not multitasking, but if you see me looking down, that's because I am looking for the live stream over on my end. There it is. Okay. All right. All right. So if I see something on one platform or another, I will just readdress the question to just make sure that everybody hears and understands the question. So in the interest of time, let's get started. So as you can see, this is called How to Thrive and Not Just Survive in the New Normal. And thank you everyone for saying hey in Zoom. Thank you for everyone saying hey in LinkedIn. And I should probably take a look at Facebook. I'll leave Facebook open as well. All right, let's see how much I can multitask and lead this at the same time. All right, so lots of people have positions about how they're positioned and expert and all that kind of a thing. So a lot of you who follow me, or maybe you're seeing me for the first time, I think it's good for the person who is leading the talk and in the front of the room to give over some kind of qualifications. So you don't have an MBA or a PhD in the end of the world. So let me tell you a couple things about what qualifies me, why you should be listening to me in the first place. So I've already been living my new normal for years. I have lived in New York, I've lived in Kentucky, I've lived in Ohio, the Magic Triangle that nobody really does. But I'll tell you, first, when I was starting my business, we left New York to go to Kentucky. I can tell you that I also moved away from my headquarters in Kentucky back in, I believe it was 2013. So we've been semi-virtual as an organization for the better part of 7 years. So while everybody's trying to figure out remote work and using Zoom for the first time and playing around with Snapchat filters, this is stuff that really I and the rest of the team here have been pioneering for quite some time. Also, and I told you, not everything's going to be all happy and puppy and rainbows and candy corn and cotton candy, rather. So I would tell you, as I have told most of you before, if you've ever listened to the podcast in my LinkedIn bio or mentioned a couple other times, I'd like to say that I'm on Life 2.0 before. So there's no easy way to kind of say that. So just, brace yourself. This is kind of the part where it's sad. So my wife and I had a child that died, and I'll tell you that there's, it might be a little inconvenient for you right now. And I'm not making a joke about people that are suffering and dying, but if the worst of your life is that you have to spend more time with your wife and kids and order restaurant food delivered to you and take walks out there in the world, that's not much. So Amy, I see you have a question there on LinkedIn and you have a business idea. If you feel comfortable saying something like that in the public, great, drop it in there. If you want to say something one-on-one later, that's fine. So like I was saying, if we're just sitting in our PJs and being bored, that's not really that big a deal. I assure you that when your life breaks apart and you have to pick up all the pieces and watch your son die, you can pretty much do anything. And I can say that with a straight face because, I'm still here. So I'm already on Life 2.0. I already weathered the storm of being in corporate America back when 9/11 was happening and we were rocket shipping as a business during the housing market crisis. So not our first rodeo. So that's why you should listen to me. But hey, whatever, you're all grown up, so you don't have to listen to me. Do whatever you want. But you showed up for this webinar, so let's keep it going. And again, feel free to interrupt me at any point in time and we'll get to it. So it's time for everybody to face reality and get on the right path. A lot of stuff, I've really been sitting on the sidelines. I don't really like a lot of the messaging that I see there. I'm going to say some things that probably aren't nice or popular, but now isn't the time for Netflix parties and virtual happy hour and all this kind of stuff. I just don't understand. Unless you're totally set and you don't need any help or whatever, I don't know what you're all talking about, right? What you're doing is delaying critical decision-making process, right? So think about that. It's great that you're keeping a happy mindset, and thanks everybody for giving me a minute to shave and put on a suit and tie, and really I'm just wearing sweatpants underneath, but you know, I'll just leave that to the imagination. It's not that kind of show. So I don't know. I think people in their mindset, it blows my mind right now when we're just delaying critical decision-making, right? It's not the time to ease off the gas. We do not have time to have a losing mindset. I also do not super trust all of these good Samaritans that suddenly showed up on my feed, right? All of a sudden, everybody wants to help. Wow, they're all checking in like they're my grandma or something. I don't understand. Like, all of a sudden you care about me? Come on. A lot of that feels like it's very thinly veiled sales. So the second I respond, oh yeah, I'm doing great. Oh, cool, let me go shove some product down your throat. No, seems very inauthentic. So I would suggest to anybody who's doing that, please dial that down a notch because it doesn't come through very nice. I think it's very important to have a giving mentality. Now's the time for you to double down on some learning. Great book for that, The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. He's got a whole series of them. You don't like to read, go listen to it. Maybe you can't go to the public library, but pretty sure Amazon's still delivering books and you can go get these things. And we can link to all that later. So having a true, authentic giving mindset or being a go-giver is much better than, hey, just checking in, just making sure you're okay. Really? Did you ever do that before? If not, it just doesn't come across as truly authentic. All right. So now that I got that out of my system, let's go a little bigger into that. So instead of us, like I said, just surviving and we're all in it together and let's do everything for free, how does that math even work? So let's say we're somewhere between 25 to 30% unemployment, or let's say a third of us aren't working. So for the 2/3 of people who are working, we're just supposed to do everything for free? I don't entirely know how that works. So I understand that there may be some things that are free, and I may understand that there are some free incentives or it's free if you are directly suffering, but I assure you, there are plenty of companies and industries that are making crazy money right now. So let's examine. How about online learning? Last week, I saw there was a Chinese online learning company that was getting funded to the valuation, ready, for $7.5 billion with a B dollars. That's doing pretty well. How about video conferencing? We're streaming on Zoom right now. They're making crazy money. Go take a look at Zoom's stock over the last couple of months. What is it, like double or triple? And I think now SaaS, software as a service, really can take root and really show people what it's all about. I think that there's a lot of other industries that you might not have thought about, but it's worth taking a look at. Cannabis, CBD oil, dispensaries. We take a look at all of the different kinds of companies that are considered necessary and vital according to different states, governments, and governors who are allowing things and not allowing things. And I think there's still a lot of disagreement on that. But I've been seeing a lot of dispensaries are staying wide open. A lot of alcohol is going really well. Now, I get it. Not everybody's in an industry where they're going to benefit and all of that. But one thing to consider is to go lateral in marketable skills. So, okay, you were doing sales for something I don't know, for a cruise line. You're probably not selling any cruise lines right now, but what's stopping you from helping give sales training to other people or getting a job in something that is in demand right now? Just checking the comments here. Thank you for the support. All right. So something to think about. Real estate is kind of not so great right now. So we're going to see a lot of defaults on mortgages, a lot of defaults on rents, and pretty soon the byproduct of that is going to be that a lot of landlords are going to have problems next. There's a lot of wind happening and knocking stuff over in the next room, but we're just going to pretend that that's fine. So real estate is really suffering right now, and it's only going to get worse shortly. Regardless of what the Fed does, regardless of what mortgage rates are going to do, we were already seeing a retail apocalypse, and now that a lot of retail is closed, I don't know what to tell you there, except for the fact that I want to stress that digital real estate is basically the only real estate we've got right now. So if you don't have a website, get a website. If your website stinks, make sure it works better, right? Now is your chance to really double down on that, to really spend some time making sure that your website is syntactically correct, to make sure that it shows up on mobile, to give it a shot to actually do some SEO. You can try to do PPC, AdWords, Facebook ads, and all of that. I've heard some mixed things when it comes to all that stuff. Some people are saying that some of the overall volume is down, and we certainly don't want to be tone deaf when it comes to all of that, right? So you'll see where I'm going with that. But digital real estate is where you should be in right now. I think if you are a company that builds websites and stuff like that, you should be busy out of your mind, out of your depth. But rather than pressuring people who are going out of business, you might need to work with people that are in business and are ready to rocket ship. So digital real estate is, for lack of a better word and lack of us wanting to really dive into here, something that you all should be focusing on. Also, the media is wide open. If you look at the media as a pie chart, what would you say is coronavirus related? 90%, maybe 5% for politics because we're hitting an election year, and then 5% other, something like that. Obviously, I'm making up stats as we go, but everybody's making up stats as we go. So if you have a message that can fit in a positive way when the news is overwhelmingly negative, you've got an incredible media opportunity. So if you're a startup, you should be hitting the gas right now. And yeah, I know maybe we've lost $20 trillion of wealth in the stock market, but you know who's not going out of business right now is venture capitalists. I'm seeing people doing deals left and right. Roku, I think, just got a $70 million round the other day. So if you look at Crunchbase, they do a daily newsletter, and you'd be amazed. People are making faster decisions. Sales cycles, if you figure out what to sell, are shortening. Think about that. Because right now, people are panicked and they need reassurance, right? A lot of sales and the way markets work, you have to count on people being rational, and people aren't. Their mind is spinning out of control, and people need reassurance, which is why I put on a suit and tie and sweatpants to go talk to you. All right. So let's talk about luxury and necessity. Let's keep it nice and short. If you're a luxury, you're basically fired. There might be some people that are still going to afford it, but you're going to come off looking kind of gross right now. You can't sell people on that. So you really have to think about where you and your product and service fits in that kind of an ecosystem in the new world economy. And yes, David, thank you for tagging Hashi. Hashi and I've already been talking, and he should be very much in demand. So luxury versus necessity. If you build websites and help people with their digital real estate, you should be in more demand than ever. It's like the internet starting over again from Web 1.0 in the late 90s, before the whole .com boom. That's where we are. Now, I know I did tell everybody that we want this to be nice and interactive. So I just want to say a couple more points. I know we're only about 15 minutes or so in, so I'm going to want to open this to questions. I want this to be interactive. We'll get some stuff up on the screen and help as many people as possible in the time that we've got. I want to leave you with the word of the day. And today's word of the day is something that, and I'm actually going to tag her in LinkedIn, my friend String, who currently is in Melbourne, Australia. So I don't think she's up yet, but we're going to tag String. Everybody follow her if you're watching in LinkedIn. Actually, I'll also share her LinkedIn URL in our chat over here. There you go. So if you're on Zoom, you see it. If you're on LinkedIn Live, you'll see it. And Jake and Jacob, if you can just grab that and put it into our Facebook as well, I think that'd be really good. She and I have been talking a lot, and we've just been talking about the mindset and how this is the new normal. I don't really like when people are talking about, hey, what are you going to do when everything's fine again? How do you know everything's going to be fine again? I'm not a doom and gloom tinfoil hat guy, but what are you going to do about now, right? Don't talk about what's going to happen in 2 or 3 months. I don't know, right? Like America was supposed to be open during Easter or whatever. Now we've got another month. We don't know when this is over. So you better figure out what you're going to do now, because most people and businesses can survive a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. But beyond that, once it's 2 months, 3 months, a lot of people are going to be going out. And I'm very suspect as to like last week's numbers with all of the unemployment stats. I think that 2.82 million number, whatever it was, is probably going to be more like 5 million. Because if you think about it, everybody overwhelmed all of the unemployment lines. So we're going to be seeing a lot more in that. So worry about what's going on now as opposed to what's happening later. So again, back to my word of the day, introduced to me by my good friend String. Because I thought all about resilience and all that. Resilient is great. But the thing about resilient is, so you started out over here and you're doing great. And then life beat you down over to here. And then you overcame it. So you bounced back to where you were. Great. That's being resilient. You bounced back. Or you can be fragile. So you're over here. Life beats you down to your knees. And then you never recover, right? You're done. That's not good. That's not happy. What are you talking about, Brian? You're supposed to cheer me up. No, I'm not. I'm not here to cheer you up. I'm here to yell at you so you can wake up. So the word of the day is anti-fragility. As life completely tries to knock you out, that actually makes you stronger. So sort of like what I said at the very beginning of this talk, I've had a number of things in my life, including some stuff you don't even want to know about. I mean, I think we'd have to sit down in person for you to really handle all the craziness that I've been through in my life that I'm grateful for, because I'm stronger now than I was before. So if you can adapt and have a mindset of anti-fragility, you could do better than ever. And if you look at some of the fortunes of the world, the JP Morgans, the Vanderbilts, all these guys that made ridiculous amounts of money an age ago, they did that during times of war, times of pandemic, times of industrial revolution, times of when transportation systems were changed. So we may never go back to where we were before. In any case, I could go on and rant for like another hour of that. So let's do this. I want to open this up to Q&A. So I don't know if we want to bring up people's LinkedIn profiles, but let's take a few questions from the audience. I want to hear from you all. I want to hear what you have to say. So not all at once. So Zoom, LinkedIn, Facebook, drop in your questions, call me out, tell me I'm full of crap, say that, you know, who are you to say that, whatever. Come on, what do you got, guys? Jacob? No, nobody has any questions? You all figured it all out? Great. See, a few people have private messaged me, but if they're sending things that are private, we're not going to mess with that. No questions from Facebook yet. Okay. Jacob, do you have, here we go. Wait, hang on. There is a Q&A box. Sorry about that. I missed that box over there. Okay, so for those of you who are not watching on Zoom, I see that we have a question from David Young. People buy with emotions and necessity, then backed up their purchases with logics. Is this true? If so, how do we market ourselves while being sensitive to our audience and clients? Great question, David. So people don't think as rational as you think that they do, even before a global pandemic such as COVID-19. coronavirus. We all feel smarter when we say COVID-19, like we've got little lab coats on or whatever. So people don't buy because you have a product grid and your product is better than the next guy. People buy based on emotion. Then they need to hear a story about it, and then they need the facts and stats to back it up. So very much as you said, David, that's how you do it. And I think that inbound is probably going to work better than outbound right now. So I've been trying to really think, because really, if you think about it, everything that I'm saying and that you all should be saying should be weighed and measured in your mind and written out so you can really kind of feel it. Because every word that we say right now could be taken out of context. People are hurting, and every word that we say is on the edge of a knife. So rather than just the, hey, how are you doing, Good Samaritan patrol? Come on, like I don't think everybody really cares like that. I think it's a thinly veiled sales thing in a lot of cases. You know when people are genuine and you know when they're not. So I think that that level of sensitivity is very important. You don't need to email spam everybody and say, hey, here's what we're doing about COVID-19. It's like, yeah, we know. So have something original to say and really lead in on emotion. Show that you care about the other person more than you care about them helping you. Zig Ziglar said that. And I just said that as a repetition of what he said, just in case you missed that. If you watch Amazon Prime, there's actually a wonderful documentary life story of Zig Ziglar. So since you're not going out and doing anything, go watch that. Also, don't be tone deaf. Do you know how many stupid messages I see on email and whatnot where they say, hey, are you bored? Why would you ask me if I'm bored? If I was, it's an insult. And if I'm not, it's an insult. So emotions are running high like you can't imagine. So be careful about that. Hopefully that answers your question, David. We're going to go on to the next question from Neil Greenbaum. Hey there, Neil. Neil says, as people are uncertain of their own futures, how would they gain the frame of mind to expand their business laterally or otherwise? So people should always be uncertain of their futures. What makes you think that you deserve to wake up every morning, everybody? Not to get dark, but I mean, I think people take life for granted massively. And they're waking up right now to notice that not everything is free and not everything is forever. Not everything is just happy and wonderful. So how would they gain the frame of mind to expand their business? I would go back to what I said a couple minutes ago, talking about anti-fragility. They need to understand that they can come out of this stronger than before. Jacob is saying Facebook message so that what we can do to move forward. Yep. If anybody wants to ask any questions in Facebook message, let us know about going forward over there. Let's see. So Neil also just said, I understand your concern about Good Samaritans being thinly veiled sales pitches. However, what's the line in my mind? So I think there's a difference when it looks like a script or a tactic and versus when you actually care. So like if somebody like hasn't reached out to me in 2 years and all of a sudden they want to like help me and I've never even talked to them before, that seems a little weird, right? So I think it could be case by case and situational. Let's see, what else do we have here? Mark Meyer on LinkedIn Live says, I think it's too soon to figure it all out. Yeah, no kidding. But I think that you have to watch what's happening in the short term, in the midterm, and in the long term. A lot of people are incapable of thinking more than 5 feet ahead of them. And I think that a lot of people are incapable of thinking much further down the road. Samuel Alexander on LinkedIn Live says, how do you see the new microeconomies evolving? Great question. So I think we're going to see a lot of merging. So one thing that I'm watching right now is sports are kind of closed, but esports are booming. And then we have augmented and virtual reality. And that's been kind of sitting on the shelf for a while and people have been hesitant and they don't want to have goofy looking goggles and stuff on them. But I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation in that. There was also a rumor that Apple, that sits on somewhere between $200 to $250 billion in cash, was looking to buy Disney because a lot of us are going to be consuming more media than ever. Let's see, what else do we have here? Christopher Cast on LinkedIn says, this is not a question, just a statement that if you were positioned well and have a niche market to sell to, you will continue to do well because you have made your products essential for the customer. I would completely agree, Christopher. We're in very much demand here because I make infographics and get people press. And since everybody's sitting in front of their computer, they're going right into where I'm marketing. Terry Duperon on LinkedIn says, curious to see how the environment changes for independent retail e-commerce stores outside the marketplaces. I think if you're in e-commerce, you should be booming right now, especially if you have digital goods. The problem with some physical goods is warehousing, shipping, logistics, and sanitary concerns. I think we should still be seeing that do quite well, but it definitely is a concern. But I think that retail was already breaking in half, e-commerce overtook retail, and I expect e-commerce to really do quite well here. So what else do we have? Any other question? Yeah, here we go. Jacob has a question in the Q&A on our Zoom. What about for people who could be experiencing a friend or family's death right now? Well, I mean, that's a sad reality. Many people are suffering deaths. I know plenty of people who are sick with COVID-19. I don't think I know anyone who's passed away from it, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what, I can't cheer them up. I mean, I would say that it's very sad. You might not even be able to go to their own funeral, for crying out loud, right? With all the social distancing and different policies, depending on where you are and how you live. People are making choices of which person gets to live or die and who gets a respirator. So like I said, it's very difficult to tell people how to do messaging right now. So what could I tell about somebody who is having a family death? I would try to console them. I would try to give them advice. I would try to give them hope. So if you see every time I sign off every week before the weekend, I just throw it out there and I say, hey, I'm here if anybody needs to chat. Whether you yourself are suffering from the disease, if you're losing your mind and don't know where to go next, if you don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from, if you have a family member who's sick or dying or dead, hey, I'm here for you. And I am genuine. What I try to tell people is, I haven't moved one iota from my messaging, right? Whatever I said now isn't that different from months or years ago. If you actually watch about a year, maybe a year and a month ago, I was talking all about how you better get your value proposition nice and tight because we're going to be in for some kind of a crash. Did I expect a global pandemic? No, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a prophet. But I thought that we were going up for too long and it just didn't make any sense. Okay. Other questions? Just refreshing the LinkedIn feed here, just making sure that that is still working. Anybody who's watching in on Zoom, please put in any other questions you have. And feel free, again, if you are in something where it's suffering, like if you're a travel agent, I'm not going to be like, hey, don't worry, everything will be fine, because everything's not going to be fine. If you run a cruise line, it's not going to be fine, right? Now's the time to really think about how to do some things differently. Anybody else? Let's see. All right. Mark Meyer out on LinkedIn says, I think inbound activities should be leveled and outbound activities need to be sensitive to what's happening. I agree. I think so much of the outbound stuff that I'm seeing right now is just terrible. Like somebody hit me up the other day on LinkedIn and just went straight into a sales pitch. And I just sent a question mark back. And he's like, oh, I hope you're healthy and well. Shouldn't you always hope that people are healthy and well? It really just struck a chord and made me really upset. Christopher Cass says, I have a real attitude of gratitude because we are all busy now and I understand how fortunate we are to be. Amen, brother. Let's see. Kai says, Brian, we are a small company that focuses on roofing and remodeling projects in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're a face-to-face sales organization. We're wanting to navigate the social media platform to generate conversations. What are your thoughts? So although it seems like you wouldn't be busy, Kai, and anybody who's listening for anything to do with home services, my wife and I actually just were at Home Depot yesterday, and I asked the guy who was making sure no more than 100 people were in the store at once, how's business? Is it really slow? And the guy looked at me like I had two heads. He's like, what are you kidding? Everybody's home right now, and everybody's like wanting to like plant gardens and do this and that. So I think, Kai, you should be doubling down on your marketing efforts. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. Are you on video? Are you doing anything like that? You should be doing more than ever with that. So maybe you're not going to be so much of a face-to-face sales organization, but you can sure be face-to-face on video. People want to fix their houses right now because everybody is just hunkering down and preparing for the worst, or being an idiot and just running around the streets, but hopefully they're not. So you should definitely be stepping that up. If you've never done social at all in your life and you feel ill prepared, get an expert, because you're already an expert in roofing. You don't have to go be an expert in social. But no matter how you do it, you should be doing it. And hey, Sam, good to see you out here. Let's see, any other questions? Looks like we're hitting time right now. We will be making this available as a recording and also on the LinkedIn Live. You won't see all the Q&A necessarily, but that automatically saves as a live. I'll also be monitoring after the fact to see if anybody has any questions on the replay. So, keeping true to time, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to wish you all a day full of hope, success, blessings, and anti-fragility. If you don't know what it is, go look it up, because that is the attitude that you need to have, and an attitude of gratitude, but that's always. But now more than ever, we need to be anti-fragile, not just bouncing back, but looking forward to navigating the seas of this new reality. So thank you all again very much, and we'll see you next time.